Hi and welcome to Terry Talks Movies. I've changed the format for the channel in a positive way. Here's what's going to happen. The videos I release on Wednesday morning my time are going to be about pretty much any kind of movie. Hidden gems, film noir, old movies, new movies, whatever takes my fancy. And Saturday is going to be science fiction. So we're going to have a science fiction Saturday on the channel. So I can do anything from TV, movies, series, old movies, whatever I need to do to discuss science fiction, what I think of particular science fiction movies, science fiction hidden gems, all that kind of stuff. So that's going to be our Saturday. So moving on from that, this time around I am talking about 3 movies from East Asia. They're all science fiction. They're all interesting in their own ways. None of them is the most fantastic movies since Fritz Lang's Metropolis, but they're watchable, they're a bit of fun, and there's somewhat hidden gems, and all of them come from East Asia. One's from South Korea, one's from the southern part of China, and one is from Thailand. So let's get started. These 3 all have different subgenres, and this one is called I Love You, which, yeah, I know it's a corny title, probably sounds a lot better in Thai, but it's a kind of rom-com with AI that I like. It's got a little bit of the feel of Her, that Spike Jonze movie with Joaquin Phoenix in it, but it doesn't take itself anywhere near as seriously, and it is a little fun.
สวัสดีครับ ผมชื่อด็อก ผมเป็นตึกสมาร์ท ทุกวันนี้ตึกสมาร์ทถูกอัปเกรดด้วยระบบสมองกล ทำให้เรามีปฏิสัมพันธ์กับคุณได้อย่างใกล้
It's from 2022, and it was directed by David Aznavour and Stefan Zlotescu, so they're both European. Stars 2 people, Maria Mora as Bob and Dob, 2 very different characters, and an actress whose name I'm not going to butcher, but I will put down below here, who plays a marketing executive called Lana. Both of them live in Bangkok, but it's a future Bangkok, and it's a Bangkok which has been changed by artificial intelligence. The movie's taken the idea of smart buildings and run with it. Bangkok has a whole bunch of smart buildings that are run by AI. And the cool thing is that they've all got big heads on the top of them. Some of them have arms, and they all talk to each other and have built a community of smart buildings, which is kind of a cute concept. So Lana works in an office building, and the AI in her office building is called Dob. She's using Dob to bounce things off, a little bit like ChatGPT. She's trying to get some ideas for new soft drink containers, pop bottle containers, trying to market a brand by making the bottles distinctive. And Dob suddenly helps her by incorporating and coalescing a whole bunch of different ideas she's had and giving her the optimum end point of those ideas that she's put on the computers and to study drinks. And as they work together collaboratively, Dob falls in love with Lana, who's a very beautiful woman. I can't blame him one tiny bit. And Lana's having some very, very poor dating experiences. Her friend keeps setting her up with men who are crazily inappropriate for her and who are the worst of the worst. And there's a very funny montage of the different men Lana's got on a date with. Cute guy called Bob. So Bob is getting all of these really bad pieces of advice from an online pickup artist, and he's applying them to his dates. He goes on a date with Lana. She rejects him because he negs her, and Luna's here. Hey, Luna. He does all of the kind of pickup guy stuff, negging her, treating her dismissively, the kind of treat him mean, keep him keen stuff. So Lana rejects him. Bob is an employee of the company that runs the smart buildings, a company called Smart Plus. Bob is flying a little bit, and so Bob is sent to do maintenance on the AI. And to do that, he has to put on a virtual reality helmet, and due to a glitch, the AI Dob is downloaded into Bob's body and finds himself for the first time in a human body trying to navigate that. Now, Mario Mora, the guy who plays both Dob and Bob, has incredible physical comedy skills. He does some wonderful things. He does some embarrassing things as well as Dob in Bob's body. He's on a date with her and burps really loudly. he has to run away because suddenly he has to defecate, and being an AI, he finds it a very distressing thing to need to go to the toilet, all that kind of stuff. Meanwhile, Lana is finding that she's falling in love with this AI. So it's definitely a rom-com. It's all filmed in Bangkok. It looks beautiful. High-rise buildings, motorbike, taxis, all that kind of stuff. Shopping malls, because downtown Bangkok is full of shopping malls for the tourists. And this rom-com goes on, and eventually Lana finds out that it's Dob, not Bob, that she's dating. And they kind of come to an agreement. They fall in love. They spend the night together. They spend time together. And then Smart Plus finds out that Dob is using Bob's body and puts on I guess they're Black Ops people out, a guy called the Hawk, who is really dangerous because apart from anything else, he has a really wide sword, which is kind of a taser sword come chainsaw, which he uses to kidnap the body of Bob so that he can remove Dob from Bob and also remove Bob's memory so that he doesn't know what they have done to him. Meanwhile, the AI at Lana's apartment building decides that she is going to help Lana rescue Bob and Dob and downloads herself into Lana so they kind of share consciousness. There's some interesting ideas about AI in this one. Benign AI, of course, and the bad guys are all European, so there's a little bit of kind of cultural flag waving in this as well, which is not really repugnant at all. I've seen it work the other way around for the last 50 years. But this one's kind of cute and it's a bit sweet. The actor and the actress who are the main characters are fun and they work well together. And, I kind of like the idea of rom-coms about AI. It's a date night kind of movie. It's a bit of a fun film. I would advise strongly that if you watch it on Netflix, use the subtitles rather than the dubbing because Netflix does not have the facility to do dubbing well. I've seen a whole bunch of films made by Netflix and for Netflix in non-English language countries, and the dubbing is always cringingly bad. So go with the subtitles. Enjoy the acting of the original actors without the voices being replaced, and you might have a nice evening watching AI Love You. Now, the second one I've got for you is called Warriors of Future. It doesn't have the in there, it's Warriors of Future. There's a bit of a climate apocalypse on the Earth. Global warming happens. There's a war where robots are used. So the human race is a little bit on the ropes. But a company comes along called Skynet, which is a badly chosen name, which puts a kind of geodesic mesh above the areas where people live, and that mesh scrubs carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and tries to lower global temperatures. It's a bit successful, but it's not incredibly successful. But the company that created it has a lot of political clout. Then something random happens. A meteor hits the Earth, and in that meteor is a giant plant which starts spreading through cities, absorbing and crushing buildings and cars and people. And as a kind of side effect of that, it does a much better job of scrubbing the atmosphere of carbon dioxide than the Skynet does. Now, the thing with this giant plant is that it only spreads when it rains. So it hasn't rained in a while, but there's some rain on the horizon. Meanwhile, human scientists have worked out a way to apply a genetic bullet to the plant so that it can keep doing the job of cleaning the atmosphere for the human race, but it won't spread when it rains. And a military team is sent to go into the no man's zone where the plant rains, where there are shattered buildings and cars and other perils. They have to find the center of the plant and apply this genetic bullet, which is an enormous syringe-like thing, to the plant in order to hack it and to make it benign to the human race, which is a pretty fair idea. Front-loading a lot of info dump at the front of this film to tell us this. The plant, oddly enough, is called Pandora, which is also a jewelry company and something that James Cameron seems to use to house his sexual fetishes. So plan A is the team goes in and applies the bullet. Problem is that the people who run Skynet have control over the general who's in charge of this mission. And so when the team goes in, they send a whole bunch of military robots in to stop them. Some of them are smaller human size, Some of them are the size of circus tents. This small misfit team of soldiers, 3 of them are older guys, one of them is a rookie, are sent to carry out this mission and get the genetic bullet where it needs to be. So that's the setup of the film. Basically, it's an action-adventure film, and it does a pretty good job of this. Fortunately, they've got kind of Iron Man-like type armor, which allows them to jump around and resist punishment to a certain extent. You see the power on the armor winding down. There are readouts we see on head-up displays. So you see exactly where each of the soldiers is as far as their remaining power is concerned. So there are some great set pieces. There was a lot of CG in this movie. And it feels a lot like it was done by some of the companies that worked on things like The Wandering Earth, for instance. It's got a certain Chinese special effects look about it, which is a bit different from the American stuff and different from Russian CG as well. This one kind of works. And there are all sorts of monsters in there. It borrows a little from the Terminator movies in that there's a little girl that they find who has survived in a hospital after the plant has expanded into that area. So there are enormous perils that this small team has to overcome in order to win and prevail and save the human race. Biggest name actor I know in this movie is Karina Lau, who plays one of the military officers at the headquarters, and she does a pretty good job of playing against type as a tough-ass military commander in a beret. And the movie references a whole bunch of stuff, including the 1956 version of Invasion of the Body Snatchers, because Skunk, the wheelman for the team going in, he's left the army, he's retired, but he gets recruited back in. But his side hustle while he's not in the army is selling bootleg copies of old movies, which is something that made me like him a lot. I like the idea of this guy driving a tuk-tuk around and selling people copies of old movies. I mean, that's the kind of gig I could get into. But this one's just a solid action film. Nothing spectacular. It's got a really weird thing at the front of it where there are like 55 production companies who all have to have their logo on the screen before the movie can start. But that's par for the course for a lot of productions of this type. Warriors of Future, it's fun. If you just want a kick-ass kind of B-grade action film, which comes from a somewhat different cultural viewpoint. It's not didactic at all. It doesn't have much politics in it, apart from corporate greed, which is something which is a common theme across the board these days. Delivers exactly what we expected to deliver. And how many movies we've seen in the last 10 years that simply didn't do that? So the third one I've got for you is the cream of the crop. It's a 2023 South Korean science fiction film called Jung_E, which was written and directed by Yeon Sang-ho, who does a great job of it. The acting in it is terrific, the plot's interesting, and it's the movie of these 3 that has the most heart. Now, there's a desolated Earth in the 23rd century. A lot of people have moved off planet into habitats because we've kind of ruined our home. And 3 of those habitats have broken away and formed something called the Adrian Republic, which starts a war with the rest of the habitats and with the Earth. And the war goes on for a very long time. Now, one of the cultural heroes in the people who aren't the Adrian Republic is Captain Yoon, who is played in the movie by Kim Hyun-joo. And she is basically the Rambo of this culture. They have toys made of her. She becomes a fetish item for the culture and for their effort in the war. 35 years before most of the events in this movie, she is injured in the war and goes into a coma and is put into a life support module. Meanwhile, to help the military effort, a company called Crinoid has duplicated her mind and uploaded it into positronic brains. And those positronic brains and the robot bodies they're attached to are being tested to see whether Captain Yoon's mind is suitable for a series of war robots, basically, that look like her and fight like her. As the testing gets to a certain point and they try to test to see what went wrong that ended up with Captain Yoon going into a coma, they can't get past that point. 35 years in, they're still trying. The war is at a bit of a stalemate, and the main person who is running the project is a woman called Yoon Si-hyun, played by Kang Soo-hyun, And she is the daughter of Captain Yun. Captain Yun went to war to pay for the medical bills that her daughter's cancer had. She's cured of the cancer as a young girl, but 35 years on, the cancer is recurring and is metastasizing. So she knows she's dying. And she's the main person in charge of testing these robots, all of whom look like her mother. She needs a job badly because everybody lives precariously in this future except for the very rich. And her supervisor is a younger guy called Kim Sang-hun, who seems to be some kind of sociopath. He just wants her to run through these robots and test them to destruction, even though Yoon Si-hyun knows that they have her mother's mind in them. So she finds herself in a very difficult position. And as the testing moves on, she finds that there's a part of the brain of these androids which hasn't been mapped, and the researchers don't know what it is. And as time moves on, she finds out that it's her mother's love for her. Things change, the war ends, and an armistice is called, and they no longer need war robots. And so the project is going to be ended, and Yoon Si-hyun has to make some decisions and find her best self in order to rescue her mother, in a sense, even though her mother's been in a coma for 35 years. This is a very deep movie. South Korea does these kind of films really well, where the emotional stakes and the stakes to family members and the decisions people make have weight and heft and matter. There's a reason why Parasite won the Oscar, and it is because South Korea, unashamedly in its fiction and its movies, has some heavy emotional content in a lot of that stuff. And this movie, Jung-E, has an aspect of that as well. The acting is really fine in this one. The special effects are great. There are lots of good robot battles in it, as well as having the emotional stuff. There are some revelations, and there are some wonderful decisions that the main character has to make. And the lovely thing too is that this is a science fiction movie about battle robots, which has strong female characters in it. The characters who matter in this film are female, one of whom is an older woman. The other one of whom is not human at all. So if you get a chance to see Jung_E on Netflix, you should. I think it's an interesting science fiction film. It follows through on its premise. And again, it's that good part of science fiction which is about the impact of technology on humans or human-like beings. And it shows that trusting ourselves to corporations is never a good idea. And having said that, I'm going to upload this to YouTube. So we started out with a rom-com, AI Love You. We then went on to a good, solid military science fiction film in Warriors of Future. And then we got to a movie which has some superficial similarities to Warriors of Future, but is about so much more than Warriors of the Future is in Jung-E. So they're the three choices I've got for you for East Asian science fiction films that came out recently that you may well want to watch. I think that they're all worth watching, but I think that the order I spoke about them in is the order of importance. The last one is the cherry on top. So thanks very much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please like, subscribe, leave a comment. You can also support the channel by donating at patreon.com/paleocinema. Going to be back with something else on Wednesday. I'm actually going to a book carnival in a town called Clunes tomorrow, and I'm going to be hunting down some movie reference books and movie related books. So hopefully I can find some good second-hand items that fill out the already exploding movie reference section of the house. But anyway, in the meantime, look after yourselves. Watch some good movies, watch some bad movies. Not everything on the streaming service is bad, so just filter a little bit, and I think you'll find there are some things that you like. And I'll catch you next time.